Okay, good evening and welcome. This is the August 21st, 2023 meeting of the school committee. Call the meeting to order at 5 p.m. This meeting is being both audio and videotaped this evening. I would ask that everyone please rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll roll call it. Amy, you want to start us out, please?
Kate Lyden.
Sarah Trulio.
Gregory Thompson.
Gordon Smith, Superintendent of Schools.
Antonella Rochella.
Pamela Blair, Assistant Superintendent for Business.
Samantha Velasco, Secretary.
Excellent. Thank you all. We have minutes for approval tonight.
I move to approve the June 26, 2023 regular session meeting minutes.
Motion made by Antonella,
Second.
second by Sarah. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, nay. That carries 5-0. Thank you, Sam, for those. In subcommittee communications, Antonella, would you like to start us out tonight?
I don't have anything tonight.
Great. Thanks so much.
I don't think I have anything either.
Great. Kate.
I have just a little blurb. I see something else from eLeaf, but I have a little blurb from eLeaf about the September 7th ice cream social at the depot that they asked me to mention here at this meeting.
7th.
It's not a fundraiser or anything. It's just a gathering and it's from 6 to 8 p.m.
Sweet. Thank you.
Literally, sweet.
Sweet. That was cute.
It's September 7th from 6 to 8 p.m.
Okay, excellent. We'll move right along then. We have an opportunity for visitors to address the committee. Seeing tonight, we're going to move right up. 5.1.1, we have convocation assembly. Do you want to touch on this, Gordon?
Sure. So we have our convocation assembly on August 28th, Monday, August 28th. 8 a.m. is, I'm not sure why we're getting that, sorry. Up on screen. Okay. 8 a.m. is for the social piece. We'll have some breakfast treats and coffee and so forth. And then at 8:30, we begin our official program and we'll have a chance to welcome everybody back, introduce new staff, and talk about our focus this year, as well as have a guest speaker who shall remain nameless.
Oh.
Yeah.
Excellent. And then we have our first day of school.
First day of school for students is Wednesday, August 30th. Our kindergarten students will have 2 days of screening and then they will begin on Friday.
And similar to last year's change, we do have school on Friday again this year. We'll go back Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Yep. Wednesday,
Great.
Thursday, Friday.
Awesome. Okay, moving right along, we have an update on the cell phone policy JICJ-R.
Okay, so in your packets, you have the new procedure that voted into place in June. And with that, all the buildings have received this and they're prepared to present this to staff starting on day one, probably convocation day when they have their faculty meetings. During the summer, we were able to get these lovely cell phone pouches for every classroom at the high school and the middle school. And so what's going to happen now is that as students arrive in a class, they will have one of the slots assigned to them, and then they will place their phone in that slot that's assigned to them, and they will leave their phone there during the instructional period of class, and then they will be able to reclaim their phone at the end of class. And so the idea is to take our policy, which has always been in place and talked about keeping instructional time uninterrupted, and really emphasizing that and really emphasizing the separation between the need to go to your cell phone and what you're doing in the classroom. Because all of our students get Chromebooks and they're able to access all the different instructional materials through the Chromebooks. So we're hoping that it goes off somewhat seamlessly. we will send out a message this week. I will send out a message this week to families explaining it. And I know that principals at the high school and I believe at the middle school have already sent out some information with their welcome back information letters.
Good.
And students still have access to their phones during lunchtime.
Correct.
In between
So they'll have
classes,
Right. So they'll have access to their phones, just as you said. As they arrive to school and they're waiting for school to begin,
Mhm.
they'll have access between classes to their phones, and they'll certainly have access at lunchtime. So they won't be without their phone throughout the entire school day.
That's good.
It is good.
Mhm.
There should be times during the day that is there.
That's why I think that there were concerns that parents wouldn't be able to reach students or for.
If a parent is ever in need of immediately reaching a student, the
Mhm.
best way to do that is to call the front office, and then we will call directly into that classroom.
And Gordon, the last line here, just about the procedure being reviewed, I think
Yes.
maybe discuss that would be like a survey to teachers. Are we going to do that? Are we going to survey students too?
We can. We have not put that piece together, but we did want to definitely get feedback from our teachers.
I would like to know, I mean, honestly, like they're not going to say they love it, but when we ask them questions, has this helped the way that you pay attention?
Mhm.
I think that would be really good information to know.
And families
We
too.
certainly,
Absolutely. If you
yeah.
really feel
It might
an
be worth,
impact from that.
Doing all three elements, teachers, families, and students. So we'll
Yes.
put together a short survey, probably somewhere, I guess, in October,
Okay, thank you.
around Halloween.
When everyone's in a good mood.
Exactly.
Did we accept this policy yet, or do we have to do
We
that?
did.
We
We
did.
did, yeah. Okay.
This was just.
We voted
give you
on
the
it.
Show and tell.
And again, I just think it's a way for a body like ours to be able to support a district goal through a policy that's in place. So we have a goal that focuses on student mental health and student well-being and creating these nurturing classrooms that provide for higher levels of engagement. And this is one of the areas that we actually can help teachers with this through an actual policy, whereas some of the other areas are a little bit more challenging for a school committee to kind of exercise some say in, whereas this is more concrete and we can try to at least use this to help create, take one maybe barrier out of the creation of those classrooms that we're really working in service of under the goal that we've traditionally had around supporting the whole child.
And I think to the point you're making is that there's probably more support amongst those three groups that we just talked about than we think.
Agreed.
I think students may actually give us some positive feedback after they've
Absolutely.
gone through it for a while. And I know that there are probably a good number of teachers who maybe haven't been vocal about it, but are very supportive. And for that matter, I would think families might be more supportive than maybe we're anticipating. So we're hoping that it goes well, and we will start it on day one.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, that would be fun. We have an update on the MSBA feasibility study and the high school building project.
Okay, let's get this on screen here. Okay, so it's actually been a very busy summer with the feasibility study. We're nearing our submission of schematic design, which will happen later this week, and you'll see it later in this presentation. But the hope is once we submit the schematic design and we really can focus the next 2 months on just making sure we're getting all the information we can out to the public and answer any questions that we possibly can, that we get a good voter turnout on November 7th. This is our existing site, as everybody knows. Some of it will remain, some of it will, or a lot of it will change, but the athletic field that you see will remain. And tennis courts, you'll see, are going to move, but we will still have tennis courts and we will have pickleball lined on them. So we're going to go from this, should the vote be positive on November 7th, to this. And so what you're seeing now is you're looking at the fields that would be out here towards the west. And it's going to reorganize what we have on that side and behind the school. And it will reorganize, as you see, in front of the school. It still is going to have that horseshoe, but it's going to be a little bit narrower, and you're going to have another entrance and two completely separate entrances for buses and for pickup and drop off by cars, which has not been the case since the high school has been in existence. Then you will also have down here, if my pointer, there we go. You'll have an area where that's actually the pool, although it's an MSBA. It's not an MSBA project. It's a separate project, but you would have access with that road there where you could drop off near the pool for the community and nighttime events and so forth. Stop me if you have questions on anything. This just gives you an idea of, as we put this together, it's an aerial view. This area right here is the existing school. So it shows you where they're going to be building as we start the construction. You can see in the upper right corner, that's where the tennis courts would be located. So they're going to be shifted over towards St. Michael's, and we pick up in the middle between the field and the building, we pick up some basketball courts. And you can see also right here, that's where the pool will be. Questions on any of that? I know this is hard to see with the writing, but it gives you an idea of what the floor plan is becoming as we continue to hone in and get more specific on design. So you can see in the upper left corner, you have the district offices. And then as you come around that corner on the left side, you have the IT offices. Right there in pink is where our Little Big Kids pre-K program would be, and the child development program that we run at the high school. As you continue down the front, you have our district pupil services, and then the high school administration. Then you have the main entrance. And then as you go down towards the right, you pick up guidance, medical area, some special education areas, and you have our 2 gymnasiums as well as some associated PE rooms. The alt PE room, weight room, and so forth. So there's a lot that the physical education staff can do within that space. And the nice thing is the way we're trying to design this is so that you can have supervision from many different angles. If people happen to be using the alt PE room and the weight room, you'd be able to do supervision with maybe 2 staff members on that side of the gym. Questions on any of that before I move to the other areas? Okay. Then as you come into the school, the heart there in the middle is heading towards what would become 2 cafeterias. Basically, they're contiguous, but you will have a feel of 2 different eating areas, and you have a large staircase right in the middle there. You would also, off of this, have your food services, and you have, I apologize, I should have a pointer. You have things like culinary arts off of here, and in the pink side, you have your auditorium, as well as you have the art classes and our video programming. Then as you continue further in, these 2 wings here, and then above them would be all of your academic classes and your science labs, your math classes, your social studies, your special education classes and resource rooms, all of the above. And on the second floor, you would also have your media center, which would be able to look out onto the cafeteria. Questions on any of that? Okay. We've had a busy summer. And we're going into a busy fall. This is really designed and some of us in ELPS and the school building committee in terms of things that we have gotten done and still have to accomplish. So we've gotten all the cost estimating through reconciliation, and we actually have a budget. As of last school building committee meeting. So the overall project budget is 177,500,000. That number really is basically the same as the schematic report, preferred schematic report that we submitted in February. But with the work of the design team and the school building committee, we've been able to achieve enough green energy points that the cost of the town, we think, should go down from about 120 million to about 115 million. We feel that our MSBA grant will come up to about 62.2 million.
Yeah, but then we used it up in soft costs, didn't we?
No,
I thought we took it all.
I don't think so.
Okay.
We're taking the 115.
All right.
It was a win.
Good for me.
Okay. Or at least as far as I know.
But didn't the soft costs go up?
And they did, but I think we still had the savings.
Okay.
I've also, I don't know if others read about it. I don't know the details, but we all know the inflation costs, and with the governor's budget, I know I saw something about the MSBA with, the inflation on money. I think they're trying to give more back to be able to help, just because we're not alone. And certainly this has not happened before to districts. So we'll have to find out more about that. But I am hoping that there might even be something there.
For current projects.
That's my
They're
understanding.
definitely trying to do something for projects that are in process now.
Yeah.
Where they had a budget
Yeah.
and then their whole.
They're going to give them more money.
That's
I
what they're
think they're
thinking.
trying to figure out.
We could certainly use it because it's going to make or break us.
I know, so that's why I will say.
Yeah.
Can't guarantee you
No.
what to do with districts like us, but
Yeah.
what they are trying to do is
But it's the same problem. Although I guess
similar, but
we have a lot.
we're
to do.
estimating with
Yeah.
the idea of knowing that they estimated without it.
I got it. Yeah.
So anyway, we've been able to vote on a budget, approve that. This week, we have another school building committee meeting, and we'll be approving the full submission for schematic design. With that, if that's a positive vote, we will submit either on the 25th or on the 28th to the MSBA. And the next step is getting ballot language and vote language to the town council for their review. I have sent draft language to the attorney representing the town. He has already commented on that language. And on Friday, I sent that to the MSBA because before we do anything, MSBA has to approve that language. All of that hopefully will be ready for the town council meeting on the 12th, where they will review both the ballot language and the vote language, answer any questions. They will also have the opportunity at that meeting to hear from the town's bond counsel as to how this works in terms of going out and getting a 30-year bond and what that means. Then on the 19th, if everything goes according to plan, we come back and hopefully they approve both vote language and ballot language. And that will be ready for November 7th. The pool project is lagging slightly behind. And so it's a little bit different process because it's not an MSBA project. So that same ballot question has to go and vote language has to go because the town will still have to raise and appropriate money. Pool building committee hopefully will lock in on a budget somewhere around September 7th. Questions on any of that? Because that's a lot.
The meeting on the 21st, is there a meeting on the 21st for the public about?
Yes, that's coming up.
Will that have new information?
Yes.
Like, okay, more,
More.
I think it's each one, they want more numbers or more
Yeah.
budgets or
They'll have
We have
all
real
the numbers
numbers.
at that
real
point.
numbers.
Yeah,
Okay.
they'll have
Yeah.
the real numbers.
Once the budget's set, it's set. So that'll be our number. Yeah. And it is set. We set it. Yeah.
So as the school building committee meets, and this was a question I had asked Gordon when we were setting the agenda, I think because visually the school is so beautiful, like the project itself, like it's just state of the art. I think one of the questions that I've been getting lately is, what are the checks and balances to make sure that we're not like getting every single bell and whistle just because we think we can, versus how are we kind of checked in what our design and what our reach is and how much money we are spending so that that's just out there. Like, I think sometimes when something looks so new and bright and shiny, there's an assumption that
Yeah. So when we
Overshooting
originally
the target.
designed it, we had a lot of the bells and whistles. When the number came back from the estimator, it was
It's about 10 million over. the
over, but
construction
we've
cost.
cut that much out of it. And we are down to, it's not the bare bones by any means, but a nice building. But we had to make some serious cuts. The photovoltaic was on the line for a little bit. Solar panels, we kept those
Mhm.
because it's an all electric building. So we feel that it's
And
important.
that will actually start to pay for itself at roughly 6 to 8 years, I think.
Yeah, I think we'll find out more once,
Yeah.
because we have to hire a consultant now that we're going to do
This meeting on the 10th,
solar panels.
where it says SBC meeting on VE and budget vote,
Mhm.
prior to that, the VE was value engineering. And so there was a subgroup that worked and Mr. Thompson's elaborating on that work. That worked specifically to look at, okay, here's where we are coming out of the estimators. Here's what we had hoped to do. We're not going to be able to do that and probably have a positive town vote.
Mhm.
And so being fiscally responsible, we started to look at what is not a must. And as we were looking at that, we really looked at, first and foremost, how do we improve the education that's going on in the building? Once we've done that, what else can we do? Now, with that said, we do know that in the public meetings, we've heard a lot about our athletic fields.
Mhm.
Our athletic fields will be much improved, and they will probably be the top athletic fields in the area, I would say, because we'll still have the turf field, and we will also have exceptional grass fields and baseball diamonds and softball diamonds, all of which will be new.
Mhm.
And so that alone will be pretty incredible. If everything passes, we'll have a pool that will be truly a community pool, as well as one that will allow for incredible competitive swimming at the high school level.
In that project specifically, we but kept it as
Separate.
tight as possible in terms of the budget and not get frivolous. There was some discussion about 8 lanes.
Mhm.
There was discussion about wider lanes, but we decided that a project that was focused on what we really needed, 6-lane pool, nothing spectacular, but it'd be very nice.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with the high school building. For example, originally we had metal panels on the second level
Mhm.
for the exterior. But we saved 1.3 million to go all brick.
Yeah.
And we all know brick lasts a long time anyway. So in terms of aesthetics, the architects think they can work with that still and maybe use different colored bricks. But stuff like that, we were able to save some big money.
That might be like a great slide when we're thinking about the night on the 21st to kind of call
But,
some of those
Yeah, I think we're going to
specific
have to
items
start
out.
to detail what we.
It doesn't have to be everything, but I just think some of those spots where when that committee started to meet, that subcommittee, where
Right.
the budget was looked at through that critical of a lens and decisions were made that kept the integrity of the instructional program in place.
Right.
But also we're being fiscally responsible and not trying to put an undue burden on the community.
Right.
I think like just showcasing that reaches another layer of the audience that we're trying to continue to like bring into like the conversation around what has happened, what is happening, so that those things aren't left to chance. Things aren't left to, the community making
Avoid a
decisions.
fact,
Yeah.
people.
Yeah,
Well, and the goal of the committee
Like,
was to stay on the original budget, which
Right.
is what we've been talking all along, which required some cutting, and we thought it would once the estimates came in. So it's still going to be a magnificent building. We really
Absolutely.
didn't cut any instructional spaces out. Things like the basketball court were next in line. We had that, it was on the floor and we picked it back up.
We took the lights out.
But we took the lights out of the basketball courts. So we have
Mhm.
basketball courts, no lights. The tennis court lights, we're going to reuse and put them over the new courts. So, yeah, I think we're doing our,
no, I know we are doing it. I just think sometimes we have to make sure that we're
To show that.
the due
Yeah.
diligence has,
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
and especially as we get
Because people
closer
may
and
not
closer and
understand
closer.
what VE stands
Right.
for. And so as we get to,
And the closer we get now that we have real numbers, being able to showcase like it would have been X
Right.
had we kept this in, or this is why it actually
where we
is sitting at
started
this
before
figure.
value engineering, and
Mhm.
where we are now.
Yeah.
I think
Just helps paint the complete
Yeah.
picture so that folks know these wasn't just, hey, we're going to shoot for the stars and we're going to get it. And we're going to
Yeah.
plow forward regardless of whether or not we're bringing the rest of the community along with us.
Yeah.
Instead, this is what we wanted. This is what's reality. And this is how we kind of closed that gap, which is why we landed at the numbers we landed at. That's all. I just think
Yeah.
that's kind of one of the questions that I've been getting more lately is, when you don't have something physical to look at and enter, there's assumptions that are made, rightfully so, like it's state of the art. We use words like that because that's what it is, but
Right.
it's also,
But they haven't seen other drawings.
Exactly.
They haven't been in the discussion about the metal panels on the second story versus brick all the way through, all the above. Yep. This is just a summary, sort of where we're at, that we're submitting on August 25th. I talked about the project budget, which has been voted in place. We do feel pretty confident that the MSBA grant will increase. We're hoping that it goes up to 62.2, which would then drop our town portion to about 115.3, down from about 120 million at the preferred schematic report stage, which was February. We have a meeting, as you know, on the 24th. Everybody's welcome, 3 p.m. It's a blast. They go about 2 hours. Public outreach. So we've been out and about. We were out on National Night Out. We didn't have all the facts that we just talked about on National Night Out, but we had a pretty good turnout coming to our tent. And Mr. Thompson went bell to bell and talked with everybody who came over and did an incredible job. Not everybody was pro, and we needed to hear some of the feedback there, and we took that back to those discussions in value engineering. We will be at members of the school building committee and design team, not the entire building committee or the entire design team, but a few will be at each of the open houses. Maple Shade, September 6th, Birchland Park, September 13th, Mountain View, September 14th. Excuse me. East Long Meadow High School, September 27th. And then Meadowbrook is always a 2-night event, the 4th and the 5th of October. Then, as was mentioned earlier, September 21st, we have a public forum here at the high school. We'll have tours again for anybody who has not seen the current layout and condition of the high school. And then we'll have a 6 p.m. presentation in the cafeteria. And we'll do that again on the 19th. In each of those, we hope to bring newer information, where we are in the process, and answer questions. If you haven't taken a look at our website, just go to the landing page for the East Long Meadow Public Schools, scroll down, and we've made some, I think, pretty impressive changes with the building project portion of the website. And we have Mr. Mackey to thank, because the man is a genius, really creative. And so he's done some great work there. All I had to do is say, yep, let's publish it. So thank you, Mr. Mackey. We've also updated the frequently asked questions as we've gotten different questions, either at events like National Night Out or through the email on the webpage. We've tried to answer those questions and then add to it in the frequently asked questions area of the webpage. I don't know if our August monthly pamphlet is up, but it is not, Mr. Mackey is saying, and so we will get that up shortly.
But if I can just
Ideal.
add,
Please.
when people do ask those questions, you can remind them that all of that information and those presentations, a lot of great discussion when we did the materials about what the cladding on the building was going to be. Very visual. It's all available on the website, so people can actually, watch that conversation and I think get a pretty good sense of how much thought and discussion has gone into arriving at this. It's part of the reason for making the website more accessible, because I think people do need to go and take a look.
And do their own due diligence and decide how do they feel about this.
Great.
So these are things I think that all of you may know, and you've seen them in other presentations, but just, so what does this new building bring in terms of educational advantages? Well, it gives us the opportunity to create more inclusive and student-centered settings, as well as a school culture as a whole, especially when you think about the heart of the school is that open space, that cafeteria. And then we do have a number of areas that can be much more collaborative than the way our current layout is. Our teaching spaces just in general get larger. We are incredibly undersized in terms of our classrooms and especially our science labs. And so our lab experience and our instructional experiences should improve just by having that space. We talked about collaboration. With any new project, you also then have a budget for technology, all of which actually is in that budget, 177.5 million. So this is not add-on, but within that, we've taken a look at what technology costs should be, furniture and finishes around the building. And those are areas where, especially finishes, where you might start to look at how do you save more money. And so those were a lot of the discussion as we were going through value engineering. We have a fully new infrastructure. And it's sort of a reawakening for, even though we have an incredibly strong art program and music program, having spaces that actually allow them to feel supported and positive on a daily basis, I think is going to bring those programs even to a higher level, which is really cool. And they'll be central to the rest of the school, as you saw. We have it somewhat separated. We have choral here. We have instrumental music on the other side of the building. Art is kind of in the middle and in somewhat antiquated spaces. So having the actual teaching environment to support the arts, music, and so forth, I think is incredible. Other amenities you've seen, our athletic fields, as we've talked about, are going to be better. We won't have the lights on the baseball and the softball fields. That was something that, but we will have the irrigation. That was something that we had to take out. But we will have everything else that you're seeing there in terms of JV baseball, JV softball, multi-sports fields with irrigation and a practice field. We'll have basketball courts. Again, no lights on those. We'll have tennis courts with lights and pickleball striping.
Can I ask a question about that?
Absolutely.
When it comes to the lights, because I know depending on which community forum you go to, you hear different questions, and that was
Our community forums?
Yes, no, our
forums out there.
No, our community forums
Okay.
that you hear, that was a big question, was will the fields have lights?
Right.
At least at the ones that I went to. So when the fields are constructed,
Mhm.
will they be able to kind of,
Run the
is it
conduit.
conduit
Yeah.
that would allow for lights in the future? So that we're not then,
That was briefly discussed, but I think it needs to be discussed
Okay.
again with the design team because I think it was in roughly a 2-hour meeting to try to
Sure.
get to a certain number. And so the same idea was, okay, well, if we're going to lose it, should we run conduit? So I think we have to discuss that. And one of the things that they talked about, and Mr. Thompson, let me know if I'm saying this correctly, with a construction manager at risk, which is the process we're going to use, there's some ability for that individual to, and if the individual works to obviously get the best pricing, and it's that individual's responsibility to go after the best pricing.
Okay.
If you start to save money during your project and therefore you have money that you might be able to use for other things, now you can go to your list and say, we want to do this and bring certain things back that were cut.
yeah, just trying to think through like if that was the case and it became, just thinking about different projects around the community that I think kind of waited, like thinking about the big push to get lights at the center of town,
Right.
like that kind of took a pause, thinking that there might be something coming to fruition from the high school.
Yeah.
So trying to think through like if there's ways that we can
I think
even
there were $500,000 a field, right? To lay.
for the pipe or just
Light,
for the
yeah,
light.
field,
For
for light.
Yeah,
So we cut out two. We saved $1 million.
yeah, no, agree. Just trying.
And the
to
other thought was to not light up the whole campus for the neighbors, the
Mhm.
surrounding neighbors. They're not used to it necessarily. So we fit all our athletics in normal times. We have the field that's lit up. Baseball will be lit.
No.
Softball will be lit.
No, those are the ones
Oh,
that
we
are
got rid of
leaving.
those?
That's what I'm asking about. Like
Oh,
if
yeah, that's right.
those could just have like
Yeah.
the ability to
So
maybe
the
be.
possibility of running
Sure.
the conduit.
We'll have to see how it
Yeah.
costs, yeah.
No baseball either.
Mm-mm.
No.
Baseball and softball.
Which we don't have now.
So basically,
Right.
what we tried to do in value engineering was, the discussion was, what do we currently have?
Mhm.
And so make sure we don't cut back from anything we currently have. And what can we move off of because we haven't experienced it ever.
Yep.
One thing that we kept, and we've said in this presentation as well, is that we know we're improving all of our athletic fields and we're starting to be more inclusive so that the high school campus has varsity baseball and varsity softball, which is really important.
And dugouts. I mean,
And
those
dugouts.
look really nice.
They do. Dugouts are nice. But I think those are the discussions we have to have. And it's my understanding that that's one of the values or benefits of going with a CM at risk. Am I right about
Plus,
that?
we have a contingency built in, and if we don't use the contingency, the same thing will apply.
Yeah, gotcha.
Whatever's left, we can use within the budget
Okay.
to try and pick up some of these
Sure.
other things that fell off.
And again, just to make sure that as these conversations happen, if people are listening and
Yeah,
watching, like
Because
they
it's
at
a
least
priority
have.
for the community, you're
Yeah.
saying, to just to some extent, yeah.
One of the things I want to make sure that we're aware of is, so this project has always had the new ticketing concessions building with restrooms in it. That stayed. That actually completes a project that was 2011, which is
Yeah.
our Stadium Way. So just the challenge of, even with, though we're in times of this incredible inflation, even back in 2011, we had these same challenges when you're going through the capital process. Unfortunately, with schools, you're approving a certain amount of money at the spring of one year, and you're probably not getting to construction to the earliest to the summer of the next year.
Right.
And when that happens, your prices could go up. And then you have to start to scale back the project, which is what happened with our field project. So over time, we've been looking to complete that. We've done certain things. This will actually start to complete that whole project of 2011.
That's a new press box too. You can say that. Yeah.
I didn't say that, but new
With a
press
ramp.
box.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Ramp. Great.
We talked about the separated parking. The building will have 2 outdoor classroom areas and then an outdoor area for dining. We will have a playground. It has been scaled back for the little big kids. Currently, they have no playground. The original playground was rather extensive. We have scaled that back. That was another area of cost savings. But there will be a playground for the first time ever in that program. Well, a loading dock, which will actually be able to have 18-wheelers get there, which is not the case currently. And we'll have accessibility throughout the whole campus for pedestrians. And eventually, we'll get back to summer concerts.
Did we address that? Where are we going to put those? We haven't really talked about that yet, have we?
I believe they're going to have to flip them.
Yeah.
Yeah, to the grass side. That's
Okay.
my thought.
Yeah. Okay.
But the design team, these are the design team slides.
Yeah.
Some are mine, some are theirs,
Okay.
and this one's theirs. Hence, I couldn't update it with the no lights.
It's okay. Yeah.
But they know that we need summer concerts back, because there will be a time where during construction, we're not going to be able to host summer concerts.
Yeah.
One of the things that has come up, and we want to continue to make sure that we have in all of our presentations, but it came up in one of the presentations, was just that, obviously security is a huge concern on a daily basis. But if you're doing a building project, you want to make sure that you're doing everything you can to make sure that you're at the top level of security for your building. And so that's what's going to happen here. And you probably have seen some of the newer buildings where you have that vestibule where you have doors that can buzz in, and then there's another set of doors, but in between you have the reception area.
Mhm.
That will be something similar to our front area of the new high school. So you can buzz someone in, but that doesn't mean they've gotten into the main building. They still have a chance to discuss outside the building, so we'll have an intercom, then they have a chance to further discuss and show their ID and explain why they're going into the building, and then eventually they get into the building. And so all of that will be in place. The closest thing we have to that now would be Meadowbrook. When we did the windows and doors project, they do have that type of vestibule. The unfortunate thing is we couldn't move the office to be right there so that the reception area is right there with. But we do have the intercom system. We have the cameras. We have cameras at all of our buildings. And we have the intercom system and the buzzing system, buzzer system in all our buildings. We just don't have that state-of-the-art waiting area where they have to go through two sections to be buzzed in. Any questions on that? Okay. Vote is November 7th. In case anybody is unsure when it is, it's November 7th. So that's just information. People get out and vote. Do their homework on the project, come to the forums that we have in September and October, ask questions, and hopefully it's a good turnout at the polls.
Thank you for the updates.
Sure.
Thank you.
Welcome. Feel free to come to our building committee meeting on Thursday.
Okay, moving along. We have our assistant superintendent for business report and such. So Pam, you have a few things
Two.
here. We'll start with the end of the year.
Not as exciting as a new high school, but this is still very exciting stuff. So the first item is your last year.
Happens.
This is how everything happens. This is so true. Every school year, we have to analyze the line items in the budget. And through the year, we talk about some areas where I see we're going to have, extra money that we can then transfer elsewhere. So at the end of the year, I met with, who did we meet with? Antonella and Greg and Gordon and myself, the finance subcommittee. I would say that backwards. To go over the transfers. And so I need the school committee to officially approve them. And these should not be any surprises to any of the school committee. We talked about legal services. We had some remaining funds there. The bulk of the funds is really Unit A teachers, substitute, paraprofessionals. That's where the most of the funds were, a little bit of professional development. We were able then to move that into instructional technology and buy a few things, athletics to help them with the transportation and some supplies to, again, help athletics be able to roll over a decent amount in their revolving account. Some custodial. We had a couple of custodians that were actually out on medical leave of absence. And so that always then, we are paying two people, if you want to call it that. Maintenance of grounds. I believe we put a fence in at Maple Shade School to go from like the daycare area or a certain,
Meadowbrook
say that again?
and Meadowbrook.
Maybe I got that wrong. Maybe it's Meadowbrook and not Maple Shade. One of the schools, yeah. We put a fenced in or walkway in from the building to go to the area that the kids play. So that's what that one is.
That might be Maple Shade.
Okay, so I thought it was Maple Shade. No, that's okay. It's hard to remember all of them, especially when it happened now a couple of months ago. Maintenance of building. We always do take care of our buildings. We always talk about that, and the custodians need equipment to maintain the building. So that's really what that $30,000 is there. And the bulk of the funds goes to out-of-district day tuitions. As you can see, that's a large amount there. We do a little bit of prepays from one year to the other. That's something that a district can do, and it helps to offset the expenses for the next year. And we do try to do this every single year. So again, I just need the school committee to officially approve these end of year transfers.
Okay, just so you know, the finance subcommittee is always the chair and the vice chair of the school committee. We meet right before the end of the fiscal year. The end of June is the end of the fiscal year. So we have to meet before then to make these transfers so that they can happen before the end of the fiscal year. But the school committee doesn't meet then. So that's why we approve it as a finance subcommittee. That's been established as a policy or procedure, and then it comes back to the full committee like it is now.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions on the transfers? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve these.
I move to approve the fiscal year 23 end of year transfers as presented.
Motion made by Antonella,
Second.
second by Amy. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, nay. Carries 5-0.
Thank you. Okay, let me go right into the next item.
Yeah, please.
Okay, no, I just didn't know if you wanted to say anything. Okay, the next one, I have them out of order in my pile. I apologize. So the next one is review of policy GDG, which is part-time and support staff employment. So what we did is we gave you two sheets in here in your packet. One at the top says current hourly rates. And the next one says proposed hourly rates, just so that you could really see where exactly we're currently at. And the plan was, we had reviewed this back when minimum wage was going up, and there was lots of discussion about that. And we had increased these rates on especially the lunch and recess monitors and the sub cafeteria, sub paraprofessionals to at least be, closer to that or above minimum wage at the time. So now here we are. We're needing to look at this again because we did negotiate with paraprofessionals, and that has an impact here on our sub paras. So Gordon and I sat together and got information from surrounding districts. We're really need to just increase a little bit is how we feel. The part-time lunch and recess monitors, if you take a look, we were scheduled to be the $15.25 an hour. We'd like to raise that to $15.50 an hour and take that out 3 years. We can always bring it back and review it if need be. Just as a reminder, minimum wage is at $15 an hour right now. The sub cafeteria, again, we'd like to stay in line with the same thing, the $15.50 an hour. The sub paraprofessionals, those are currently scheduled to be at $15.25 an hour. We'd like to raise that to $16.25 an hour. And looking at the paraprofessionals, just so that as a reminder to all of you, their hourly rate this year is $17.25, the base hourly rate. So we felt that $16.25 made sense. And again, to bring it out for the 3 years, and we can reevaluate if we feel it need be, next year or the following year. And the only other, we kept the other rates the same, the sub-custodian, sub-secretary, those seem to be still appropriate. The sub-nurse, I would like to say that I added in the sub-CNA. That's something new at that $19 an hour for the sub, because on occasion we have had to do that to get them in. So I wanted to have that very transparent for all of you. Do you have any questions on any of that?
Any idea on the financial impact?
Greg, you always.
Well, you knew it was coming, didn't you?
I did. I mean, it's not a huge impact. No, it's really not.
All sub pay.
It's just sub pay, and sometimes they have a hard time getting them. So, I mean, that's just the way it is. I mean, we're still
Sub paraprofessionals last year.
Mhm.
We're still a few paras short this year. Regular
paras. We're still filling
contract.
Mhm.
So that caused us to think. I mean, we were going to be at the end of the 3-year table anyway, so we figured we should take a look at this and at least bring it to your attention.
Are these all in the contracts now? The Unit A, are these rates?
This is
separate.
Policy.
These are just
part-time and support.
So none of the sub pays are in the contract?
correct.
Okay.
That's why we bring them.
There's no impact bargaining or anything with that?
Correct.
Are sub pairs utilized whenever a para is out, or is it only if a special ed para or any para, or is it?
So if, depending on the situation, it can go one of two ways. We would like to use and have another body in there for any para. If it's a really specialized situation and it might be too complicated if we have not had a chance to train a sub para, then we may have another para sub in there and sub that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it can get a little tricky, I think.
Yeah, I was just wondering
It
if
really depends on the
their
program.
coverage,
Yeah.
subbing versus, okay.
One of the things that we do, we haven't done it with paraprofessionals as much, but we do this a lot with our nursing substitutes and our substitute CNAs. And that's, we'll bring them in, pay them for the day, and we train them in the various rooms so that if they are willing to be on call with us, they'll know the different classrooms that they'll be needed in. And that's been really effective.
I think that's helpful for the families too, that have, children that are in need of those, the nurses to be with them and to get that relationship and have that relationship to be confident. And
we had our new administrator of health services review the sub nurse rate, Candace Goyette, and she felt that we were at a rate that still was competitive, so we kept it.
Right.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, this is to stay, just to recap. So this is to help us stay competitive within the general Western Mass region. And also because we've been here, I'm assuming we've been hearing that maybe it's been harder to get folks as a result
Yes.
of the current pay structure that we have in place for some.
Correct.
Okay.
With those three that,
The most challenging have been sub-paraprofessional. Some of that's pay, some of that's the job.
Mhm.
Then I would say lunch monitors and recess monitors.
Sure.
And then sub cafeteria.
Okay.
Okay, I'd entertain a motion to impose hourly rates in policy GDG for part-time and support staff employment. Go ahead, Kate. It's on the tip of your tongue. I'm calling you out on it. Go.
I accept the motion or I have to say the motion?
I'd like you to say it.
Oh, okay.
You could.
I accept the
You can
proposed
say
hourly
something if
rates
you want, Kate.
for the
Yeah.
paras and the proposed hourly rates
For part-time.
part-time and support staff employment. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Kate. Motion made by Kate.
Second.
Second by Antonella. Discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, nay.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And,
gotta rip it up.
Okay, and the next one is review of file GCGA-R, which is the substitute for information. So again, these are not stated in the Unit A contract, so we have a separate, item here that we wanted to bring forward to you. And this has been difficult, as we've talked about all last year. And we created a chart here, teacher daily rate comparison. I got as many as I could. A lot of business managers were on vacation or they only gave me little information, but we felt that this shows you the picture. The green is, you can see, I highlighted East Long Meadow here for you so you could see where we're currently at, which is the daily sub is 100, a daily sub with bachelor's 100, daily certified sub teacher 100, daily sub retired teacher. I believe we voted that, school committee voted that in 2022, I think, which was to raise that to 125 for retired teachers. And that has been, I think, very positive for the schools. They've gotten
Very effective.
right, very
Bring
effective.
back some of our retired teachers.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we put in place during COVID, I think you all remember, the permanent building sub, which really has been a savior to the schools to have that body that they can count on every day. So they at least know they can plug that person in, different places. And you voted for that to be $110 per day. And if you take a look at the chart here, I mean, we've got Agawam, you can see those rates going up there. Got a couple of them that are a little lower. I'm not going to call them out there, but you can see it right in front of you. I do want to state that I did get the Westfield rates there, and I do want to make a note that the school committees had not voted those rates when they were given to me by the business manager, but she anticipated that they would be approved. So those are, much higher also, right? So when we're competing for the same group of people to come here, I just think it makes sense that we take a look at where we're at. And so Gordon and I felt that the recommendation should be the daily sub and the daily sub 110. So that's just going up $10. And we spent, Greg, to answer questions, I know you'll ask that. The financial impact is probably about $25,000 overall. We spent about $242,000, I believe, last year on substitutes. So it's 10%. Yeah.
And still had, just going back, sorry to interrupt.
Sure.
And we still had money that we were able to transfer
Correct.
in that substitute
Yes.
account.
Yep.
Into other locations to offset. So even with that $25,000, we would still, if we have a year that.
Yes, I believe so.
Still have the ability to maybe have some flexibility with that account.
Yes. The other thing we did discuss that I just want to remind everybody about the permanent building sub, where we have 2 at each building this current year, which is great. One is going to be funded, you approved from the operational budget, because we did feel that the substitute account could withstand that. And I am certainly still cautiously optimistic that that's going to be so, even with these changes. It is something I'll monitor for you.
To that point, though,
Yep.
that that will no longer be there because we're using it.
25.
The 81.
Oh,
Right, but there was
Right, we're only
larger.
5,000 of it.
Ju-
The 81.
No, because we're paying for 5 permanent sub now where we were not out of that account.
That's correct. And that, yes.
And that's
Do you know
gonna
what that
eat that
comes up to?
81 by
What is it?
more.
Were
It's
you
gonna be 100.
The
81,000.
transfer.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's not gonna be there anymore because we're using it to pay for the permanent subs, the leftover.
Yes.
Okay.
I will analyze that for you as the year goes on and,
You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
Because we're using that
Because
money to
it's-
pay for the permanent subs where we weren't last year.
right. So
Yeah.
then the
The
25,000.
Permanent, building subs, Kate.
Mhm.
Yeah.
so then what we were thinking is right now we don't pay, like if we have a licensed teacher that comes to us as a sub teacher, we currently just pay them the $100 a day. And we have had a lot of inquiry from the principals. Well, if they've got a license, can't we pay them like the 125, just like we do a retired teacher? And it made sense when you think about it. So we are proposing that for a certified teacher, a retired teacher, and the permanent building sub, that they all be the 125 and just the daily sub that is on call be the 110 per day.
How often, I'm just curious, like how often is that happening that we're getting licensed
Not frequently.
educators that are not employed that want to sub? It just
Every now and again, we'll get someone who's licensed.
Yeah.
Just recently, because we've
Keep 'em
had
with your kids or
some
something.
vacancies late in the game. We've had a few people where we've put up for a sub and we've had people with licenses. So
Like I have a license if I ever wanted to. I get the extra $15.
I get that. I just, I'm
That's neat. Like,
we do,
on the
we
list.
do actually, that's a good point. You do have some people who have taught and then gotten out and have done other things, but have kept their license active and have offered to sub.
I guess that's the question too, like when you, it's work to keep your license active. So that's just, it strikes me as interesting that you're keeping
Yeah.
your license active,
Yeah.
yet not working for a district and then choosing to sub. I'm not saying
Yeah.
it doesn't happen, just
People have different situations. Never know.
interesting that
Obviously,
that's
it's happening.
happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Not frequently,
yeah,
but
But it's happening.
okay. And
Question
then,
came up, so I didn't want to not
no, I
bring it to your attention.
And then with that, I guess, and this is just maybe going too far, but like, are we checking like where they worked before? Like you just, like,
there was a substitute.
yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, we
Like
still
if you
check.
have a active,
We still check.
like you're not working for a district,
Yeah.
just makes me nervous.
And we
Like
still
why?
do criminal background check
Okay.
and fingerprints and all the.
Make sure.
Yeah.
That's, like I said, it's
Yeah, I mean,
always like
sometimes we're,
standing.
first you're excited and then you're like, wait, why?
Right.
Yeah.
Downer, but at the
You
same
have
time,
to do your
like,
due diligence to make sure that, okay, yep, this makes sense, great. And then you get into the money discussion. The one thing I would mention on the permanent building subs, they really have been savior
Mhm.
in our buildings. And they have not seen any type, they're not represented by anybody.
Mhm.
And so as other units have gotten raises, they've gotten nothing. So that since 2020, when they were put in place, they've been at 110. Excuse me.
do they attend the PD and the convocation?
They do?
Thing?
Yeah. They're not required to,
Oh,
but they
okay.
do, and they'll put in,
Okay.
we'll pay them for the hours. And many of them do. And they've really been incredible. And they responded in our end of the year survey. And one of the things they said was, it would be interesting, and this is anonymous, but obviously if you say, I'd be really interested if the permanent building stuff, maybe we could get a raise.
Yeah.
You're like, oh,
Let's
that's a good
build that
point.
one out. Yeah.
But they have been incredible. And if you remember, it was our permanent building subs who did a lot of the elementary check-ins. They were the ones who were running the video calls and so forth as people were out isolating if they had an active case of COVID.
Hey, any other? things?
I think we stirred a hornet's nest a little bit because as we checked with all these different districts, they're like, wait, you're going up? And so now they may be.
but I do think that's
It's difficult to get us up.
Yeah.
it would be to the benefit of this region, whether it's school committees alongside of superintendents or some kind of forum to discuss, like we're not really pushing forward like each other's goals if we just keep escalating costs. We're all searching in the same pool for individuals. Like at some point, we're all going to reach a tipping point if all we keep doing is just increasing the cost or increasing the salaries of employees, which I'm not saying is warranted, but
Right.
we're just racing each other. And to what
And
end?
I think there will
Like
be,
our budgets aren't going to be able
I'll
to
be at a
sustain it.
superintendent's meeting tomorrow. And since I did some reaching out and Pam did some reaching out, my guess is I'm going to be asked about that.
Yeah.
So we do discuss that. And we're very candid in terms of why and what our different pressure points and challenges may be in our districts. I think our paraprofessional contract got us to a level of competitiveness in over 3 years. It's going to take those 3 years to be even more competitive. But I also know that in those 3 years, just as you were saying, the other groups are going to be negotiating again. So, so it's a good point. So we certainly will discuss it. Maybe we can do it more formally at some point.
Yeah, just looking out for like this region as a whole in terms of educational costs. Like we're just going to keep putting all of the local communities like in this race, which I think is more pronounced now post-COVID than it was before. Like everyone wants to stay competitive, but now I feel like
I think you're right.
it's just like we're on a treadmill and like none of us, the local region, is going to be able to sustain budgets or create budgets that can sustain the escalation in the cost of employment. It's just, we're going to end up in a tough situation. So
It's a bigger.
something to at least start to think about as we look at even just this.
Yeah. Okay, I will take a motion to so desire.
And it's the blue at the bottom, right? The recommendations.
Yeah.
One.
That is.
Okay.
Yes.
Make a motion. Accept the new policy for GCGA-R, the substitute teacher, new pay scale.
Motion made by Amy,
Okay.
second by Antonella. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
I
Aye. Those opposed, nay. That carries 5-0.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Pam.
Okay, let's see if I'm on the right one. Yeah.
Did you have one more
Go
question?
ahead.
Sorry. I guess I'm trying to figure out, is there a way for us to figure out this is working? Like maybe part of what we can get is, okay, last year, this was how many times we had vacancies that went unfilled when it came to subs. Whereas this year, based on, and it's one factor, but at least we're trying to find some way to notice like if the pay is helping the situation. Like this year in comparison and in conjunction with the increase in pay, like we had twice a principal had a time when they couldn't find a sub, or 8 times they couldn't find, as opposed to last year when it was maybe 15. Like just trying to figure out like,
I think it was every day last year.
sure, but like at least then we can, maybe have some method of like,
Yeah.
looking
Well, I
if
mean,
this is having any kind of impact rather than just assuming it's the pay, like and continuing to ratchet it up, like just trying to see like,
Yep.
maybe it's not the pay, maybe it's something else that we're missing the mark on.
I think in most buildings, the person in charge of sub calling keeps somewhat of a table or a log. And so we can
That's a good idea.
Yeah, maybe at the
easily
onset
transferable into
of this
I think
academic year,
most
maybe
of
they
the
can
time
start
it's-
that.
It's digital, but I
Okay.
can't guarantee that.
That is a good idea.
To think about,
So
that we
can,
maybe try to trace some impact
One
on.
of the things down the road, hopefully, as we continue our transition to Power School, we'll be moving into a digital way of asking for a day, a sick day or a personal day or whatever it may be. And so we'll be able to track that maybe much better at that
Okay.
point.
Hmm.
But we'll see what we can do this fall as well.
Okay, thank you.
okay, the next one. So this was, Carolyn McBride, school psychologist at Maple Shade, applied for and was awarded the Unify Against Bullying grant. Maple Shade Schools. That was $3,000 grant. So I was really excited for her. She's planning to a copy of the application. As part of this grant, I would like to add the bullying prevention curriculum to our school's second step programming, as well as a school-wide assembly and parent assembly to further support the programming of bullying. We just need to officially have the school committee accept this grant so I can set it up for her and she can start to expend the funds.
Go ahead, Kate.
All right, motion to accept 5.2.4, gift of $3,000 to Maple Shade School from Unity Against Bullying.
Motion made by Kate.
Unify.
Unify. Sorry, thank you. Unity.
Second.
What?
It's written in
That's written wrong.
Oh,
That's why.
Sam Thatcher.
Well, which one is it?
You got you.
It's unified.
Oh, so it is
It
you.
was
Oh,
like,
unified.
How nice.
I said Unity. Okay.
They do.
And that was seconded by Amy.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? Certainly want to acknowledge the Zembla family and all their efforts for this.
Incredible job.
Um,
They began the Unify Against Bullying
Okay.
group.
What family?
Zembla, the Robert Charles.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, they.
like I knew.
You have a motion.
We have a motion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, nay. That carries 5-0. Thanks.
Wonderful. I'll get that set up. Thank you. I'll let Carolyn know. Okay, so the next one is an update on food services. So I gave you a little blurb here in your packet. The most exciting thing is that permanent free school meals for all. Massachusetts passed, we are one of 8 states that has taken this on, so that's really exciting. Lori Paul wanted everyone to be aware of that. She also wanted you to know that recycling is here to stay. It's a work in progress at the schools, but it's going really, really well. And as she states here, we really need assistance from administration, staff, and custodians to make this a success. And mostly the kids. The kids need to, but everybody's doing a really good job with that.
35,000 pounds of food composted last year.
35,000.
35,000.
Yep.
Isn't that amazing?
17 tons. Wow.
Pretty sure.
How'd they haul it all the way?
I'll double check that, but
Oh, yeah,
we got that figure from Elizabeth Bone at the town hall.
Wow.
Because she's
Cool.
in charge of the recycling.
Yeah, neat.
Yeah, it's really cool. That's 5 schools.
Yeah, it's exciting. Lori is working through some of the food bid kinks. It takes a little time with some of the language there. She wanted you to know that she's working with the Massachusetts School Buying Group for those the food bids. New this year, our funds, she received $10,000 towards procurement of local area fresh foods. That's always exciting.
It's always really nice too that she calls that out a lot of times on the lunch menu.
Oh, does she?
Say like,
She's really
it'll be like Arnold's Burgers. Like
nice.
she'll call out those like, which I think is just nice for families to know like where their kids' food is coming from, like when possible. Like that's just
Good.
nice that she does that.
I will make sure she knows that you made a comment about that. She does a great job for the district. I always feel we're very lucky to have her running our food service. She wanted you to know that 3 staff did resign over the summer and she had replaced 2. She's working on getting the 3rd one. Birchland Park, we talked about a freezer that she's stating that Birchland Park walk-in freezer project is in the works since they had a small shipping delay. But since the roof is now fixed, we will have a new freezer refrigerator to take us through the next 20 years. So that's very, very exciting. That was a big ticket item. Also, she has requested and has access to DOD fruit and vegetables again this year as part of the USDA entitlement funds. And I know they call it DOD, which it sounds funny, but it's Department of Defense. Which,
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't that strange? When I looked it up, I'm like, but that's what it is.
They have buying power.
Yeah, right?
Subsidized.
Fruit and vegetables.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Feed them right? Yeah, right.
That's right.
And she wanted everyone to know that once again, she'd like to try to offer an early morning grab and go breakfast at the high school. She doesn't know if she'd be able to do that at Birchland Park. It is something I've kind of put into her because there was a little talk about it. But the staffing and all of that. So she's going to do her best to work on these, but she really likes to try to do this for the students. And the last thing I just want to mention, the parents will get the free and reduced lunch application. And it might be a little confusing, like, why do we have to do this? Because it's free lunch. But the reason is it's still required and it determines eligibility for federal entitlement grants, as well as other programs at the LEA level, the school level, such as perhaps athletics, a discount on your athletics or possibly even free. So I just wanted folks to know why they're getting that free and reduced lunch application. And if they could get it back, that would be really helpful to us. And that's it on the food service. Any questions on that? The last one is an up.
Can I ask you a
Sure.
question? How, in terms of the federal funding, or is it state or federal funding? State funding?
We get state and federal.
For lunch, is it?
Yeah,
covered
reimbursement.
For the whole program, or we?
I believe it does, but I will ask Lori to come and do like an update on
Yeah.
with her different reimbursement rates.
Because they're still selling à la carte. That's going to take money for that. right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't believe it covers the cost for the entire.
Just the
program.
standard lunch,
Correct.
Right.
one lunch
Yep.
per person.
Yes, because if anybody wants any additional
And
lunch
I
or
think it
additional.
depends on your percentage rate, which is why you still need to fill out those forms. Because we're still.
It could affect the
Are they-
percentages behind
Them out
the.
though now.
Well,
That's the hope. That's why I think.
she'll send her little letter and,
Everybody gets free lunch, as your point was.
right?
Why would someone apply for free and reduced lunch if they already get it free?
Because
They
it
get other-
will help our district get perhaps additional IDEA funds or Title I funds.
I can see that.
Come back to the district.
Right.
I can too.
It
But
also allows the family to be eligible for other.
Well, I think that's what we have to.
exactly, such as athletics, because there is a fee. But
Should that form then change? Not be free and reduced lunch anymore? Form? Or is that
I don't,
standard?
I think it's a standard. We don't conform.
Form, yeah.
Yep, I got you.
Yeah, unfortunately, but Lori Lori does a really good job at communicating that to families. So we'll just have to make sure that it's just, not too wordy. You know what I mean? Just get right to the,
Families have to apply every year?
well, yes, we need to have the application.
So
They
that's,
apply.
They're in packet
Yep.
Yeah.
being a year, right? I mean,
In past years, they've applied every year. Yeah.
and then a lot of parents have questions on milk
On milk.
because you get free lunch.
Yeah,
A lot of kids were getting charged for milk, so they were just concerned.
Out buying lunch.
Are you throwing away a lunch to get a milk? And it just kept coming up on the forums a lot. So that was a question because milk was not, you had to part of the whole package of lunch.
Did people pay for milk?
You would get a.
Only get a milk, you pay.
hey, but if you
You
got.
get a lunch with a milk.
Don't pay.
Correct.
So that was,
Can we address
Throw
that,
the lunch
Lori?
out.
oh, it's just wasteful.
Yeah, we're
I thought it was wasteful or concerning. and-
That's a good reminder, Kate. That came up a lot last year.
the milk.
Yeah, it came up in our.
They were actually giving them lunches?
Too.
They wouldn't have to
Kids were
pay?
taking the lunch.
Yeah.
The food was wasted. In order to-
Oh, yeah.
And the parents were kind of like, wait a minute.
Wait, we're kind of throwing.
I'm sorry.
Right, like-
17 tons of food.
Yeah. Ow.
Didn't know about that.
Things like that. So that was a
Further
big-
discussion.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
We'll ask Lori to do a presentation as we.
Is that more younger or all across, you think?
I heard it at the younger level.
I've heard it at the younger levels too.
Huh. I didn't hear it.
My assumption is that the middle and high schoolers, if they have free food, they're going to eat that.
Yes.
Yeah, my daughter had started taking it or eating it.
All right, ready for the next one?
Yep.
Yeah.
Last one. Okay, so an update on school transportation. So we currently have 1,235 students registered for bus transportation. Last year, at this time, there were 1,323. However, late bus registration.
Actually, for the entire year.
Right. And what I was just going to say is late bus registrations and new students registered after August 7th will receive their bus pass through the mail later this week. And actually, Kara just brought those over to LPVEC to be mailed out, and there's close to 100 there. So our numbers are right up to where they were last year. We have 14 large buses. Those are 71 passenger buses and 4 mini buses. Scheduled to be routed for ELPS. There will be a late bus this year. We're very excited about this for high school and Birchland Park students on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. The plan is the time is going to be coming to the high school. I think leaving the high school at about 5:03, close to 3, and then head over to Birchland Park. So they'd probably be there and leave there close to 3:10 to 3:15. So we're hoping that gives the students, a good hour to maybe get some academic support. And we're very excited about this anyways. And that was an initiative brought by two students that came to see Gordon and myself. What were their names, Gordon, please
We
remember?
had Fumi and losing
I
the
didn't mean to put you on the spot. I
Daniel?
apologize.
Daniel?
Daniel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Was he in Kenya?
Team.
Yes.
Yes.
Kenya. That's right. Yeah.
Zoom meeting.
Yep, 2 in the morning or something.
I think he was in Kenya.
I think so. Anyways, we were very excited to work with them and partner with them, and I'm glad that we're able to do this. So LPVEC has been running full training classes all summer for new drivers. So we should be fully staffed with bus drivers for the start of the year.
Should be, or we are.
Well, so this is where it just gets tricky, in all honesty, and to be extremely
Yeah.
transparent. Currently, we are, but they go out to, they do a bidding amongst the drivers, and that is out of their control. Like if Pam decides to go where Amy is and Amy decides to go. So there could be some shifting that could affect
We let the
us.
drivers
Yes.
pick the routes.
Well, no,
Well,
they
they
bid for the routes.
bid for the route.
On seniority.
Yeah.
And so if someone wants to leave East Long Meadow and bid on a route in Hamden Wilbraham, they can do that.
Yeah.
Because the LBVC runs the transportation.
So that's the only
We
caveat.
don't get a lot of that.
Right.
People,
Because we have good.
if they know the routes, they like the routes here.
Yeah.
But that could happen.
It could, in all,
Well, how's the collaborative on drivers? They have enough?
well, she said that they're looking really good.
Okay.
I was,
That's more.
That's better than last year.
than it was.
Yeah.
So
And there were
being
fewer drivers in the Hamden Wilbraham yard, which services Hamden Wilbraham and Ludlow, than there were in our yard.
Okay.
They had more
Mhm.
absences and shortages of drivers than we did. We felt that we had a challenging year. What I
Others-
Ludlow and Hamden Wilbraham that was a more challenging year. So then I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
it's pretty good
Good.
over here. So we're hoping everybody has a really good year.
right? And so it's exciting. They have secured new software for the buses that will provide turn-by-turn navigation for the drivers. And that's better because when we had a lot of new drivers and they're not familiar, this will just, it really is a good thing. So it will help them to navigate and get, before, while they get comfortable with the route. And later in the year, this is really exciting, there will be a parent app that will allow the parents to track the bus. That's huge for parents, to prevent those, that anxiety that they feel, especially with the little tykes. LPVC is hopeful this will become available to the parents in January. They're working on it. And I just thought folks should really know that this is coming. And we're very appreciative to the collaborative because parents really voiced this and they're listening and they heard. So this is good. And
And we're getting electric buses this year? Is that
there
happening?
are, do we have?
The Chargers just got approved
Every
at the.
every district
Yard.
collaborative will have at least one electric.
Great.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good, very cool.
Interesting.
Yeah, that was a grant that the LBVC put in that was competitive and they
Yeah.
achieved it. So it's like, yeah, that's a good deal. Get those.
Oh, I'm sure. It's probably more than double. Then they had to put the planning board just approved the Chargers
Yeah.
at the yard.
Oh,
And 5. And then eventually they're going to go the whole length, where all the buses are,
yeah.
all Chargers, because probably get there eventually, but
Yeah.
cool.
Well, that's my update for you.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pam.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, does anybody have anything else they want to talk about?
One last item. So this year, the Spartan Sprints, the E-Leaf Spartan Sprints, they're at the bottom, it's kind of.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Sorry. Probably should have folded it. Is on Sunday or hopes to be on Sunday, September 24th. Generally, that's an 8 to roughly noon event. It's on a Sunday. So it's one of.
We're going to
now,
change
I
that
think,
policy.
only one of two.
Yeah.
Mr. Thompson, only two. It used to be one of three events that go up against the policy that we won't start events before noon, or actually, I think it's 1 on Sundays. So there's one of two. This one and I think the wrestling tournament.
Antonella and I ran last year together.
Kate did too. Did you?
Yeah.
Nice. Nice.
Didn't walk for like a week.
For the kids.
Yeah.
That's right.
Get out there again.
I don't know. Sign-ups are available on the website, I imagine, their website.
Their website is advertising it with more information to come. It just gives the date.
Okay. And we need approval for that?
Well, you need approval
Have it at that
to the
time.
fact that it's on Sunday
Yep.
and it's going to start before the policy of 1.
Yep.
And then they would put in the school use request and we'll go from there.
Okay.
To approve the use of the Meadow High School grounds for the E-Leaf Spartan Sprint on Sunday, September 24th, 2023.
Second.
Motion made by Sarah and seconded by Antonella. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. That carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're done. If there's nothing else, entertain a motion to adjourn.
Still move. You gotta wish the schools a happy new year. We won't necessarily see this.
Happy New Year, schools. Why are we wishing them a happy new year? Oh, happy new year.
We won't
A new
see
school
them.
year.
New school year. Yes,
Okay.
right. Welcome back.
Happy New Year. Wait a minute.
Yes, thank you.
Did you just do it?
Oh, I think we kind of just all did.
Awesome. That was great. Thank you, Sarah, for bringing it up.
We will do that again on the 28th.
On the 28th, yes.
And
I'll be
we'll
there.
certainly welcome all of our students back to the 30th. Will be.
And will be.
Happy New Year in August. Great. Anything else, Sarah?
No, thank you, Greg.
Mr. Mackey, thank you so much for being here and your efforts. And
Happy New Year,
I
Don.
will entertain a motion to adjourn. Come on, Kate.
Second.
Nope.
Oh,
Still move.
Move it. I
sorry.
move to
I
adjourn.
moved to
There
adjourn.
it is. She beat you to it.
Second me.
Nobody wants to leave.
Second.
80 seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. We are adjourned.